So here are five ways to get a better GPA this semester, like right now. So let's get right into it.
Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the...
What's going on, guys? My name is Coleman. I'm a physical therapist and the co-founder of Pre-PT Grind. And on this video right here, we're going to be talking about five ways to get a better GPA, to increase your grades right now, this semester, by next week, by next month, whatever that is for you. All right, so let's go over these 5 steps, then we'll come back around and talk about each of them. So number 1 is to determine the teaching style. Okay, determine the teaching style. Number 2 is get ahead in your studying. All right, get ahead in your studying, no procrastination. Number 3 is having that mentality of everything counts. Have that Mamba mentality. Number 4 is test yourself. And number 5 is then teach it. All right, so number 1, determine the teaching style. So when you start the class or midway through, wherever you are in the class right now, I want you to analyze the teaching style of the teacher and the overall structure of the class, because honestly, especially if you're in undergrad, especially at big universities, if the teaching style of that teacher does not serve you well and is not helping you, you might be better off studying on your own with that time that you would be spending in class. Does that make sense? Now, just be aware of the attendance policy and whatever else is going on in the class. But honestly, if you're in a class and that class structure and the teaching style is not serving you well, that hour or 90 minutes or 45 minutes in that class, can you use that for studying by yourself, using YouTube to study, studying with a group of friends, anything else to make sure that time is more valuable for you to get the best grade possible? Because this is your grade, this is your career, that's what matters. It doesn't really matter what the teaching style is or what this is, what's going on here and what that is and what this is. It matters about you getting the best grade possible. So if you can get the best grade possible doing another strategy or studying on your own or with a group of friends instead of being in class, it might be more beneficial for you to do that for your own sake. So be aware of the syllabus, determine the teaching style, pay attention to if the teacher is just monotonous and reading off the board or if they're actually really engaging and you learn a lot from the class. Whatever that teaching style is, determine what that is first and plan accordingly and plan your studying and your class time accordingly. All right, so you can get the best grades. Number 2, get ahead in your studying. And this is a simple way to say use something called spaced repetition. So the more time you have to study, the less you will need to just cram information in your head at a very short interval of time. So spaced repetition, you guys can Google it, look it up, YouTube it, is basically at different intervals and times throughout the weeks, months, so on and so forth, you're spacing out in time intervals when you're studying specific information. And by the time you get to the end of your studying, before that test or that quiz or whatever it is, you have now built up all this information throughout this time. So when you go to take the test, it has now basically compounded on each other for you to get the best grade, because you have all this time and all this information from last week, from 2 weeks ago, all built up on each other. And it's basically like a big wave just crashing down into the test. Like the wave just gets bigger the more time or the more space or the more ocean it has to ride that wave up. That's basically an analogy to what spaced repetition is. So the more time you have, the more you can get ahead in your studies, the more beneficial it would be to you getting the best grade possible. Next, have that Mamba mentality. Number 3, every single thing counts. Every single thing counts. Every quiz, every assignment, every test, every group project, everything counts, every point. Because I know some of you out there might be watching and you're like, man, there was this class where I was 0.72 off. So you know every single quiz, assignment, test counts. So have that mentality whenever you have anything going on in any of these classes, that my goal of becoming a physical therapist or a PTA, whatever that is, my goal depends on this quiz here. My goal depends on this assignment here, and so on and so forth. So have that mentality, have that chip on your shoulder, like, I need to get the best grade possible. I have no choice. I cannot afford to let this slide. All right. Next, number 4, test yourself. And this is a simple phrase for something called active recall. Active recall. So in the tests that you take, in the quizzes that you take, in the practicals that you take, they're testing you. You cannot look on your paper, you cannot look and use an open note or open book test, unless that is the case, to recall that information. So if that is what they're doing on the test, you should be studying the exact same way, because in active recall, in a test, all you're doing is recalling the information that you learned before. So there's nothing there. It's only the paper and you. So you're recalling that information. So when you're studying, if you can, read your notes, put it away, take out a piece of paper and try and be frustrated and work through it and try and recall that information. You're making those neurons work exactly how they're going to work when you have that actual test in front of you. So that's number 4, active recall. And number 5 is teach it. And teach it to your little cousin, your little niece, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and teach it in the most simplistic way. Teach it to somebody who has no idea what the biceps is, has no idea what the hamstrings are, have no idea what stoichiometry is. If you are able to do that and teach it in that way, you really know that information. So those are 5 ways to get a better GPA right now, this semester, this week, this month. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you on the next video.